He's Lynn Swann, former Steeler wide receiver, Hall of Famer, USC athletic director, and what are you, 67?
Yes.
Yeah. You look pretty good.
I'm trying to hide.
No, you look pretty good. Yeah.
Trying to stay young.
Yeah. No. When's the last time you caught a pass?
Standing on the sidelines, maybe one overthrown during
really?
practice, and just kind of grabbed it. But fortunately, we hadn't had a lot of those.
Well, I was going to ask you that you guys aren't ranked, preseason poll, you're not ranked.
Right.
What do you think the biggest reason why USC football is not USC football of old?
Well, I think it's a process. A lot of coaching changes early on. I think most people realize it takes a while to get there if you haven't had good recruiting years. So you got to build it up, and then you've got to find the players that fit your system in that same process. So I think that's part of it. The additional coaching changes don't help, but I think Clay Helton will provide some stability. Yes, last year was a very disappointing year, 5-7. No one's happy with that. But sometimes I think emotionally and mentally, you get to a place and you think you've arrived. You haven't won a Pac-12 championship, but you're back into a great Rose Bowl game, and you play, and all of a sudden everybody's hopes are up. Oh, man, that looks like our USC football team. What a dramatic win over Penn State. Then you come back and you win the Pac-12 championship, and everything seems to be going up, and you start feeling really good about it, right? And you kind of move along. And that sense of urgency doesn't kind of take place. And there are some things that need to change, and they don't change. And so you have a very disappointing season. I think that Clay understands that. I think he's brought back that sense of urgency. He's increased the intensity of everything they're doing on the football field. And I think the coaches' changes have been good. So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
You probably won't know the answer to it. I don't expect you to. How many coaching changes, how many different personnel changes did USC make in football this year?
Well, I know you had Kliff Kingsbury for a little while.
For a moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how many.
18.
Why do you need to make 18 changes?
Well, you're talking about making changes, subtle changes, big changes, offensive coordinators, different coaches that come in and looking what's doing. And he wanted to upgrade what he was doing. I think Graham, as our offensive coordinator coming in, helps our offense a great deal because instead of using a system that three different head coaches at one time USC kind of collaborated on, he simplified things. He got rid of all the old terminology that was created by three different coaches, and he brings in a simplified terminology for the quarterbacks and receivers, the offensive line. And so it gets everybody on the same page. What does that allow you to do? It allows everybody to be athletes, not to overthink what you're doing. I think that was hugely important.
Yeah, explain the Kliff Kingsbury thing. Why was that just a cameo there? Did he have business cards already made up with USC?
You have to ask Kliff that question. Up until the time Kliff left, everything I heard and from Kliff was that he intended to stay. And then it's Christmas, it's the holidays. Things are going back and forth. His agent's calling. I'm calling the head coach. He says, no, he's staying, et cetera, et cetera. And so I call Kliff on the phone. And Kliff was at the airport.
Going to Arizona?
On his way to New York.
Okay.
Then coming through Arizona.
Okay.
And so, look, it's kind of a no-win situation. You're trying to get the best coaching staff you can have, right?
Yeah.
You sign someone, they say they want to come, it'll fit. But for a college to get a reputation that you have a coordinator, but you're going to block him from leaving to go to the NFL, who's going to come there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's be honest. If you're not a head coach and you want to be a head coach, there's going to be a couple of moves in your life, maybe more than just a couple. And if you don't have the ability to move when an opportunity presents itself, what are you going to do?
When you first get that call with the academic scandal there within the athletic department, do you get a phone call or does somebody come to your office and say, sit down, Lynn, I got something to say to you?
I got a phone call from someone internal at USC and said, you're gonna read about this, you're gonna hear about this, here's what's going on. And I think it's easy to say that the entire athletic department, the university itself was in shock.
But how do you process that? Because you didn't have a whiff of any of this.
Well, look, who did?
Yeah.
I mean, you look around the country, you look at every school that's involved, and ask yourself, okay, who at what school found this out? And the answer, no one.
Yeah.
It only was found out because someone was caught for something else and thought he could help himself by turning evidence in this particular area. I'm glad he did. The problem is seen. The light hits it, and now we have an opportunity to fix it so it doesn't happen again. And that's what you work on.
Is there a magic win total for Clay Helton this year? For you, for Clay Helton?
Well, Dan, I won't go there on that one. I mean, I think we judge our coaches on a variety of things. Certainly, we want to win and want to be at the top. But Clay is doing a great job motivating and helping these young kids have a productive 3-4 years at USC, working towards their college degrees. We had 19 players on our team last year that wore a graduation patch, which means they're graduating by the end of that semester or have already graduated. So we're very proud of that, and we want to move it forward. So I don't look at this as, well, you've got to win 11 games. You've got to be undefeated. You've got to do this. And our goals remain the same. Do we want to be at the top? Absolutely. But where does that begin? Yeah,
it's weird to see USC as an underdog story.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys are an underdog story this year.
Sure.
You got a great quarterback. I think your wide receivers are going to be, potentially could be great.
A great group of wide receivers.
Yes, really, really talented. But you're going to play the underdog role, it feels like.
And we have a tough schedule.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, it was just a couple of years ago that one of our big rivals, obviously Notre Dame, was having the same kinds of issues. Made changes, and they've had a couple of good years back to back. We look to improve and be better, and we look for this team to show better.
He's Lynn Swann, the former Steeler, Hall of Famer, and, of course, USC athletic director. Where were you on the Franco Harris Immaculate Reception?
I was at USC.
Yeah. What did you think at that time when you were watching that unfold?
Going to be tough for a wide receiver to beat an Immaculate Reception.
Yeah. Is your catch in the Super Bowl better than Franco's?
There's a statue of Franco at the airport.
You didn't get a statue.
Regardless of what I might say or feel or think, there's the evidence right there. There's a statue of George Washington and Franco Harris in the Immaculate Reception.
And you lived up to your name. We were talking about David Stern. That's who he was. Usain Bolt. You were Lynn Swann. Where'd that athleticism come from? Well, you took ballet too, didn't you?
Well, my mom and dad didn't think I'd be a great athlete. And so when I was young and being the youngest of 3 kids, my mom kind of wanted to keep me close. And so my mom in the 4th grade decided I should take dance lessons.
Oh, boy.
Hyper kid, running around all the time, that kind of thing. So she thought this would take the edge off, I think. So I enrolled at Les Williams Dance Studio in San Mateo, California.
Are you the only boy in there?
No, there were 2 boys in the class.
Okay.
And there were 14 girls. Not bad odds.
Okay. I like
so
it.
That's pretty good. So it was a tap class. And so it was tap dancing. I started out with tap dancing. And then I got into jazz. I did summer plays, musicals. I did West Side Story, in summertime, San Mateo Recreation Department. USC, I would dance. I danced in senior projects, looking for male dancers to be in the class. I got involved with the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater and setting up on the board of directors and setting up scholarships. So there was dancing in my whole life. And so that was it. Just kind of moved it along.
Who do you consider the best NFL quarterback?
The best? Well, look, I guess I'm partial. People will say I'm a little bit prejudiced on this one. I would like to say Ben Roethlisberger is, because I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler.
How about all time?
But I'd have to say Tom Brady.
Okay.
And Tom Brady did go to my high school, at Sarah High School in San Mateo. I've seen him in college when I covered college football for
Does
ABC.
Brady have a statue at your high school?
No, he doesn't have a statue.
Okay.
Neither do I. Neither does Bonds.
I know Barry Bonds went to that same high
Jim
school.
Fregosi went there. Bakhtiari plays for Green Bay.
Yeah.
He was there. Greg Jeffries was there. John Robinson, the coach, was at Sarah High School. So we've had, for a small all-boys Catholic high school, we've had some pretty decent athletes there.
What's your favorite Terry Bradshaw story?
My favorite Terry.
On or off the field? Because I have one off the field that I've told before.
Well, look, I've got a story about Terry. Okay, and this is true, and it's kind of at my expense to a certain degree, but it kind of tells you a little bit about Terry's growth as a quarterback, because Chuck really didn't want to throw the ball that much. And so we're getting ready for Super Bowl 13 against the Cowboys. And I looked at film and I saw how the safeties responded for a quick pass. And quarterback makes a 3-step drop. The safeties see that and they come charging up looking for the pass to whatever receiver, right? So I thought we could take advantage of it by running a slant pattern. All right. Then Terry has to pump fake it. And then you turn the slant into a skinny post. When the safeties come charging up, so, passing that train. By the time they react to it, you're already by them. And so Tom Moore, who was our receiver coach at the time, we put it in, and it looked good, worked well at practice. So it's called 42-I takeoff, and that's my side. I'm the right side receiver. John Stallworth, Hall of Fame wide receiver, on the left side. If we were to call it to John, it would be 43. So we get in the perfect situation in the game to call that play. And I'm all hyped up because I put the play in. It's the Super Bowl. It's Cowboys again. Terry looks at me and he kind of chuckles. You've seen him do that chuckle where he goes, okay? That good old boy kind of laugh and his shoulders are moving and the whole thing. I'm going, and Terry looks at me and goes, full left split, 43, I take off.
Oh, 43?
He calls it to John, runs a play. It's executed perfectly. John scores a touchdown. I'm running down the field going, yeah. But you tell these stories about Bradshaw, and you might recall the story where supposedly Montana, I wasn't there, so they say supposedly was in the huddle in the Super Bowl game. And
he saw John Candy.
He saw John Candy. He tells the story and calms people down in the huddle, and he leads them down and makes a great play. I think for Terry, that moment was a moment of realization for him that he kind of had this under control, and he knew what he was doing. He ends up, being the MVP of that game. And that's our third Super Bowl and his first MVP. Franco was first, I was second. And so, so it's a good story. You kind of laugh at it. I laugh at myself about it, but it's just a good story about Terry in the moment, is actually in control and he knows exactly what he's doing.
I know that we talk about Aaron Donald now, and you have people who cover this league and have covered this league for a long time saying he might be already the greatest interior defensive lineman in history. And I went, man, I saw Mean Joe Green. Like, there's a few, and it's a short list, but Mean Joe Green was nasty. I mean, he lived up to his name.
He was tough.
Like, he did stuff that you would get suspended. Like, he'd spit on somebody.
Well, Joe was not the guy who would spit on, but he'd grab your helmet.
He didn't spit on somebody?
I don't recall him spitting on anybody, but
he might have gotten spit on.
He would grab your helmet and punch you in the belly after he warned you 3 times about holding him.
He would, but you know who scared me more? Mel Blount. Mel looks like he could still play now.
Mel looks like he should be a linebacker.
And he's 6, like a defensive back that big was unheard of.
A cornerback.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, he could be a linebacker. But, I mean, you guys debate a lot of different issues here.
Did he ever hit you?
Who, Mel?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
He hit John Stallworth. John went against him every day on the other side.
Oh.
So he kind of play him a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
But Mel was a warrior.
No,
and
bad
so
dude.
he went after it. You guys debate a lot of different things. You talk about the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
How do you do that in a game that continues to evolve? How do you do that?
We can do it with quarterbacks, and you can do quarterbacks in their era.
I'm not sure you can. I mean, because look at how the game has changed. The rules have changed. Look at what you're asking to do in terms of throwing the ball in the passing game and the evolution of the passing game. Look at the technology. Look at the quarterbacks have, devices in the helmet to call the plays. Bart Starr never had that when he was playing. Look at how the game has changed from the emphasis of the running back. Look at the great athletes you now have across the board. You got real athletes, since the days of Lawrence Taylor playing outside linebacker who runs as fast as a running back and can run you down from behind. So you look at all these changes. I think the best, at least from my standpoint, the best I could do in trying to figure out who's the best, figure who's the best of a decade. And maybe the decade isn't from the 70s to the 80s. Maybe the decade is from 75 to 85 because of rule changes and what happened in the league.
But is Jerry Rice the greatest receiver of all time?
Well, you guys were always pointing out the fact that he had Joe Montana and Steve Young. I tell this story. Now we're going to really put it out there.
Okay.
I tell this story. Look, Jerry Rice had these guys who were so accurate throwing the ball. In your mind's eye, close your eyes and see Jerry Rice catching a pass. He's catching it right here. Right here, yards after catch. I mean, he could have been born with no arms and still caught 1,000 passes from his quarterbacks.
What are you trying to say here, Swanee?
I mean, John and I had Terry Bradshaw. We're diving for passes, So, look, I think Jerry Rice is a phenomenal receiver. Beckham, I think, has great skill.
Do you think you're better than Jerry Rice?
Do I think I'm better? Every time I take the field, I think I'm going to get it done.
And that's the right answer.
Yeah. I don't compete against Jerry Rice. I compete against Mike Haynes.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He meant business, too.
Yeah.
Swanee, it's great to see you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Got a lot on your plate there.
We have a lot on our plate, but it's an opportunity to improve it, to get it better. To do the right things. I worked a lot of years with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America, mentoring kids, was a national board chairman. My goal is to do it right for the athletes there. If we're not doing it right for the student athletes, we're in the wrong place.
He's Lynn Swann, the Hall of Famer and athletic director at USC.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.